All right, let's talk about Microsoft Azure. You hear the word cloud thrown around constantly, right? But what does it really mean? And where does Azure fit into the picture? Well, stick around because by the end of this, you're going to get it. Whether you're a hardcore developer or just curious about the tech that's literally changing our world, let's jump in. So let's start at the very beginning. Imagine a friend turns to you and asks, "Hey, what is this cloud computing thing anyway?" It's a surprisingly tricky question to answer on the spot, isn't it? We all use it every single day, but actually explaining it, that's a whole other ballgame. Well, here is hands down the best analogy I've ever heard. Think about cloud computing just like the electricity in your house. You flick a switch and the light comes on. You don't own the power plant, you don't need to know how the electrical grid works, you just use the power and pay for what you use. The cloud is exactly that, but for things like data storage and computer processing power. And that brings us perfectly to Microsoft Azure. Because if cloud computing is this new utility, then you can think of Azure as one of the biggest, most powerful power plants on the entire planet, supplying all that computational energy to businesses and you and me. So what is it really? At its heart, Microsoft Azure is a gigantic collection of servers and networking gear sitting in data centers all over the world. And Microsoft takes care of all of it for you. It means anyone can build and run applications and services without ever having to buy or maintain their own physical computer servers. And look, Azure is no new kid on the block. This thing was announced way back in 2008, originally as Windows Azure. It hit the market in 2010, got its current name in 2014, and has been growing and evolving for well over a decade. It's a mature, reliable platform that really proved itself during the massive scale-up required in 2020. Okay, so how does this global power plant actually work? How does it make sure the lights stay on for your favorite apps and websites? Well, it all comes down to its absolutely incredible physical infrastructure. Let's just start with one number, but it's a big one, over 60. That's how many Azure regions there are spread across the globe. And this isn't just about covering the map. This is the very foundation of its speed and its toughness. Now, this is where it gets really clever. These regions aren't just giant blobs. A region is a specific geographic area. But inside that region, you have availability zones. Think of these as separate, independent buildings with their own power and cooling. Then, inside those buildings, you have fault domains, which are basically racks of servers that share things like power. It's this layered, onion-like approach that makes sure if one little piece fails, the whole thing doesn't come tumbling down. So this is a really crucial point, and it's something people mix up all the time. The difference between an availability zone and an availability set. An availability zone is your protection if an entire building has a problem. An availability set, on the other hand, protects you from smaller failures inside one of those buildings, like if a single server rack has an issue. Two different levels of safety. And this chart, it's basically your menu for data safety. It shows you how Azure protects your actual files and info. For just basic protection, LRS keeps 3 copies of your data in one building. Want to protect against that whole building failing? ZRS spreads 3 copies across different facilities in the same area. But for the ultimate just-in-case protection against, say, a major natural disaster, GRS, Geo-Redundant Storage, keeps 6 copies of your data spread across 2 totally separate regions. Pretty cool, huh? So we get it. The physical foundation is incredible. But what can you actually do with all this power? Well, that's where Azure's core services come in. The best way to think about it is like a massive toolbox that lets you build almost anything you can dream up. Azure offers services for pretty much everything. Need the raw power of your own server in the cloud? You got it. That's a virtual machine. Need a place to store millions of photos or videos? That's what blob storage is for. You can build out your own secure private networks, host super powerful databases, and control exactly who gets to see what with something called Azure Active Directory. It's a ridiculously complete toolkit. Okay, now this is the part I find the most interesting. Why does any of this tech stuff matter to you? Especially if you're not a coder. Why should someone in marketing or sales or a project manager even care about Azure? This quote just hits the nail on the head. In so many companies, you have the tech teams over here and the business teams over there, and they are speaking completely different languages. And that gap, that's where projects go off the rails, where misunderstandings happen, and where big opportunities just get missed. Because the truth is, understanding the cloud isn't some niche tech skill anymore. It's basically become the new operating system for how modern business works. It's the engine that lets companies move faster, innovate, and create business models that were just flat out impossible a decade ago. Knowing the basics is now crucial for anyone who wants to be part of that conversation. And look, there are real hard costs to this knowledge gap. A staggering 51% of organizations say projects fail because of a simple lack of understanding about the tech being used. That's more than half. We're not just talking about wasted time and money here. This is about a fundamental failure to compete in a world that now runs on the cloud. So what's in it for you personally? 3 massive things. First, you just get better at your job. You can talk confidently about tech and help shape strategy. Second, you can actually connect a customer's real-world problem to a potential solution. And third, and this one's huge, you enhance empathy. You become that priceless translator who can bridge the gap between what a client wants and what the tech team can build. That builds incredible trust. When you boil it all down, it comes to this. Having a basic grasp of a platform like Azure is becoming the common language of modern business. It's how marketing, sales, product, and tech can finally get in the same room and build the future together, and do it way faster. So, as we wrap up, I just want to leave you with this one thought. We've seen that the cloud isn't just a piece of technology anymore. It's the new foundation for pretty much everything we do. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with it? Thanks so much for watching.